Hello, thanks for joining us again. It's Cameron at Green Cloud, and this is a second in a series of Q&As where we ask industry experts their thoughts on some key topics. And we're delighted to welcome back Derek Southall from Hyperscale Group, founder and CEO. Hi, Derek.
Hi there.
So I just wanted to sort of just talk about what the topic is and then ask some questions really. And the topic today is more law per hour and debunking the myths. So essentially how to improve productivity and profitability in a law firm, which I know a lot of people are looking towards at the minute. So if you just jump in with a question first and get it going, which is, firstly, are law firms efficient?
Yeah. So,
sorry for that one straight away, but
It's a really good question. So point number one, this is the holy grail that you speak to every managing partner out there and they want their firm to be more efficient. You speak to every client, they want their firm to be more efficient. So it's a definite aspiration for everyone, albeit confused sometimes because of the different economic models like hourly rates or whatever. I think law firms have tried hard, and what they've done is some of the easy stuff, but I think the harder stuff has been a lot harder to tackle. So virtually every law firm out there has got some sort of decent technology. They've got a practice management system, they've got a document email management system, sometimes they've got case management, etc. So they're trying to sort of tackle areas, but the problem is really boils down to, I think it boils down to say two core areas. The first core area is that many firms are full service. So to really improve efficiency, once you've put the tech platforms in place, you've really got to go under the skin of the delivery of legal work. And that's hard. You'll have a small tech team and you might have 50 different practice areas. How do you automate? How do you make those efficient as possible? You look at the business like Apple. Apple's fundamentally got 8 core products. A law firm might have 1,500. So that bit is hard, and it's compounded by even the biggest law firm in the world won't have a massive volume of any particular work type. And if they have got a massive volume of it, normally they've got case management behind it. So I think they've done a lot, but then they come across this piece, which is quite hard. I think the second dynamic with that, which is makes it a bit more hard, is that you can there is some technology and things you can do for efficiency which can be done for you. So you can put in place documents and email management for a law firm. That's fine. But to take things to the next level of efficiency, whether it involves AI, process, or anything, you've got to work with the lawyers. And that's really hard. Lawyers are very client focused. Client demand comes in, they're immediately focused on that.
Well, that was sorry to interrupt. That was going to be one of my next questions. Actually, you're talking about that is you're talking about potentially barriers to driving efficiency there, and that potentially maybe a bit of a pulling point there. Maybe I don't know.
No, it is, and some lawyers are very good at thinking in process and technology. Others are less so, so there are genuine barriers on that front. Other things happen as well where the regulators might, with a reasonable degree of frequency, change how things are done. That drives distractions for law firms. You could be a law firm working for 5 clients in the same sector who are on their face very similar. Those clients will require things done in 5 different ways with 5 different reporting obligations, etc. So the problem for a law firm is really you're trying to build a platform and an infrastructure to deal with multifaceted demand on many markets. So almost by definition, you can do what you can do, but you get to a point where it gets really hard. It's a bit like, if you were a car manufacturer and everybody who came in the showroom wanted something different, but you're actually not just manufacturing cars, you're doing a whole range of other machinery at the same time, it would almost be non-sustainable. So that's one of the core problems that law firms have got. It's the sheer breadth of, to be truly efficient, the sheer breadth of areas that they would have to cover at any one time, lack of volume and lack of domain experts to do it.
Well, I mean, you've touched a little bit on we're talking about efficiency. You touched a little bit on technology there in that, but for me, as a for working for a technology company, I think the answer to the question I'm about to ask you is, of course, it does. But I suppose to ask you from your side what you think, the question is, you touched on it a little bit, but do you think technology helps or hinders?
I think there's a it depends answer to that, because much of the time, and for certain technologies it does. So actually, you look at what you do. You will provide an ability for people to work anywhere, which has been fantastic in COVID, etc. Tick, absolutely does. But many technology vendors sell toolkits. So if I went out and tried to buy a case management system, so let's imagine I sat there thinking, right, I've got £100,000 to spend to make this business area as efficient as possible. I could buy a toolkit. It is much harder to buy all of the workflows and the processes and things to make that happen. So I buy the toolkit, and then I've got an 18-month, 2-year project with not enough people to do it. Often there are exceptions to this, but if you buy some document automation tools, you buy a toolkit. Many of the AI products are toolkits. So I think there is a point where some technologies clearly help. And you're on the side of the angels. Products like document and email management, etc., brilliant. But other things are too much. They're not developed enough into the legal domain, so they become toolkits. So many firms who go to buy AI, right? If they go and buy an AI product, they haven't got the time, the lawyers, or the corpus of documentation to train that up, and they haven't got the volumes of incoming work to justify having it. So in that case, you could say, well, hang on, just technology is just adding to your cost base. So I think you've really got to be smart about what helps, what, if you like, is supplied in a productized way that I can almost deploy really quickly, and what things can I work on in a way where I've got the capability to work on it and get a real return on investment.
Yeah,
so a slightly long answer.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes with technology, sometimes people think, let's have the latest and greatest of everything, and that'll solve all our worries. It doesn't, does it? It's making it's choosing the right things that fit, I suppose, in this industry, fit your firm, or will definitely help, drive efficiency and everything that's associated to that. But I mean, I suppose we all know that legal tech's a hot investment area at the minute. Will this change things, do you think?
We are living in this. So in the previous session, we talked about legal $839 billion market. Most of the work is done by humans, so there is technology to store things. So anybody looking at this goes, that $839 billion undigitized market, what's there not to like? So I'm firmly of belief that the next 5 or 6 years, we're just going to see a huge amount of things happening. And one of the problems that law firms have seen is, at one point there wasn't enough good tech. There's now a tsunami of good tech, and it's almost that they can't cope with the sheer volume of things beginning to hit them. And where they're getting to with this, I mean, some people, there's one famous commentator who I speak to, he says, law firms just don't want to invest, they don't want to change. That's not what I see. What I see is law firms want to invest, but they want to invest going, if I spend X, it'll give me Y, and we can actually do something meaningful with this. So, the market, it is maturing on that front. I think what we are beginning to see from our corporate clients particularly, and this is beginning to wash through with law firms, the minute people start bringing MS365 into the organization, what's beginning to happen? It's acting as a catalyst for the acceleration of the diminution in the tech stack. So what they're seeing is big corporate brings in 365 and goes, okay, we're now going to be SAP for finance, we're going to be MS365 for everything operational, and we're going to be Salesforce. And if you're not in that tech stack as a product, you don't really get a look in. We're starting to see that wash through a bit in legal now, where people they're realizing the sheer potential of MS365, but also the cost and complexity. And and actually almost like the worries about data in these multiple systems. So there's almost a move towards moving away from the point solution, moving more to a simplified platform with the lower cost of ownership.
I think you bang on with the 365 catalyst aspect. I mean, we see it ourselves. We do the 365, but we do the next step of 365, which is taking that even further within firms or any organisation actually. But you know, the next question was, do law firms want to change? And we may as well just answer that here, because I think the question is yes, they want to become more efficient. They want to be, they want to. One of the things that I've seen asking, certain law firms, not every single one, is that they want to attract the best fee earners. And these new fee earners coming through, they're used to using multiple technologies that maybe isn't actually in place. So, do law firms want to change? From what I see, I think the answer is yes. From speaking to them, I don't know your thoughts are on that. I think we just kind of touched on that. The right technology, I think you said. I think that's key, isn't it?
Yeah, they totally do. It's a bit like the problem is, that law firms want to invest, want to change, and can invest, but they recognise they haven't got the time or money to make many mistakes. And then we've got multiple practice areas point where they have to choose quite carefully. But no, completely up for that. I'd almost take it a step further, where when I'm talking to managing partners, they are, even if business, now I think at the moment, despite COVID, most people are surprised actually how good business is. Okay, so they're sitting there going, okay, didn't think it'd be like this, but brilliant. But there is the opposites of people being complacent. They're not sitting there going worried, oh God, AI is going to wreck our jobs or whatever, but they all recognize the world is changing. They're all recognizing clients are changing. They're recognizing that their competitors are changing. And every law firm strategy I see is attempting to address that. But what people really need, we need more what I call products in the marketplace, things that they can, you buy X, it does Y, let's get on with it. They need more simplicity. And I think there is a point as well where some of the legal vendors are, probably more expensive than some of their business counterparts. There's a firm, one example, there's a firm we work with, and they've almost shunned what is traditional legal tech and are focused, if you like, on tech used by large insurers, and their cost per user is materially lower. And it's not just down to that, but I think there's all sorts of points like that are going to wash through in the mix. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, just talking about efficiency then, I mean, I've got a question about technology and return on investment, but just keeping on the subject of efficiency. You just mentioned about, well, I suppose the question is, what do you think law firms do well and not so well when looking to improve efficiency? Last one on efficiency, by the way, and then we're going to move on.
No. It's a good question. So, I mean, what they do well, of every industry I've seen, lawyers manage documents and emails better than anybody I've ever seen. And that doesn't mean contracts, but that just means the day-to-day working. And they have to do that from an efficiency and a regulatory perspective. So they're really good at that. I think that ironically, some firms who the profession might see as smaller firms are very good at the efficiency piece using case management. They've done a really good job on all of that and got their workflows sorted. I think there are some increasingly good examples where people have put a lot of effort into things like data analytics and AI, so they've not been bad at that at all. The bits where they don't do so well, I think, are as simple as this multiple products piece. So you could look at many areas. You could go into a big law firm and say, right, you do a huge amount of M&A, or you do a huge amount of real estate work. Show me your processes. And broadly, they really wouldn't have that many. They're fundamentally working out of an email and document and email management system, which is an adjunct to Outlook. And really the processes are in the lawyer's brains or what they've been trained. I think that's a problem. I think another problem that they don't do is what I'd call almost like scenario-based training, where the way, because of this disparate product approach, the way most lawyers work, that they learn, rather, they go to law school, they learn all the law, they then go into and it's on-the-job training, because it's the only way this can happen. Now, what's happened with COVID, this has exposed a gap, because it's a lot harder to do on-the-job training. So how do people get trained up on it? Now don't worry, some firms do this to an extent, but there's still a huge proportion of it that is on-the-job learning. So that bit doesn't really help with efficiency. I think the one bit that I think there is a much bigger focus on is legal project management and I suppose what I call better fee modelling. I think those are areas where historically law firms could have done better, but I think there is a much greater focus on that now, and there are many law firms trying to do a better job on that. So the final thing, I think as well, firms historically haven't been as good at what I call, they've had their office model with the expense that brings, and haven't really been as good about separating out what work could be done at a lower cost location. That's been increasing in recent years, and you've seen an increasing number, particularly of larger firms, who've got lower cost centres now. So that was could be improved, but I think the market is moving in a more positive direction.
Right, fair enough then. I mean, just moving a bit, just moving on to technology now. I mean, it's a bit of a double question, but I think I'll ask it separately actually. But the question was really is, what are the technologies that can probably deliver a real return on investment, do you think? And then the second part of that was, what should law firms be investing in when we're talking about technology? But maybe I'll ask them two separate actually. If we just stick with, what are the technologies that you feel would deliver, a real return on investment? Not a massive list, just just what your thoughts are really on that.
So I think you've got to get the basics right. So the stuff that is what I call the basic tech platform you need to run a law firm, whether it be your finance system, your document email management, there's a level of what I call efficiency and organization that brings. So you need that as a platform. So tick. I think if you've got an appropriate area, and that's a big caveat, applying case or matter management or document assembly, you get a tick. But the problem people come across there, I've got an example of this at the moment. They go and buy an expensive document automation system and try to deploy it in an area that actually there will not be sufficient volumes or anything to get you return. So a lot of that is about where you apply it. I'm quite a big fan of what's referred to as the no-code movement, because of this problem that lawyers can't get to all the areas that they need to automate. There's an increasing number of technologies coming along now that basically allow non-technologists to pre-configure reporting workflows effectively in a really quick way. So almost to the point where if you got a rush job on for a client that you had to deliver within a month, involving buying 200 shots, you could build a platform, configure a platform really quickly. I think they deliver a big return on investment. There are some fascinating playbook tools emerging where if you've got your standard, for years, there's been good technologies to help you generate documents, but lawyers are often on the receiving end of other people's documents. And what it does, it lets you build a playbook where you can automatically analyze and mark up a document quite quickly to send out. One area that has delivered, I think, from a return on investment perspective is actually is the digital signature space, and that is something that helping, you'd be amazed. I mean, I used to be a corporate finance lawyer, but at the end of a court, at the completion meeting, you've got to go and get something like, when you look at the array of documents, you've probably got to get 300 signatures. That's pretty tedious, and it's not really a good use of anyone's time. So the more you can use these technologies, particularly in a remote environment, I think they give a real return on investment. I think a lot of AI, I'm a lot more questionable about, but there are some productized AI products that do a good job. So yeah, you've really got to be careful about what you look at and what you think. The bit that worries me on this, Cameron, is I had to give a presentation on this a while back, and you started to look in my lifetime on the things that have made a real difference. And you sit there, I remember the BlackBerry made a real difference. I remember the PC on the desktop made a real difference. But then you look at some of you struggle to see those standout examples in recent years. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we've maybe answered that as well, really, because we talked about, the signature and things like that. I think that we've maybe answered the question about law firms investing in technology, unless you think there's any other points on that or the key points. I think we've.
No, that probably covers. Yeah, probably covers a lot.
Yeah. And there was one question I wanted to ask you, because we see it a lot in the private sector. Well, private sector. We see it a lot in other industries and also public sector, actually. But talking about efficiency, do you think? Talking about outsourcing, actually, do you think that law firms should set up service centres, or maybe outsource aspects of the business? Like maybe public sector here. Do you think that's maybe something?
I think we've seen several waves of this. So probably the first examples, I think it was Clifford Chance outsourcing some stuff to India. We're talking like 15 years ago. What you've started to then see is the growth of some bigger firms effectively setting up service centres, typically in lower cost locations, but some of those can be onshore, some of them can be offshore. There's been a rush on areas like Belfast, where A&O have got a site. You've got firms like Simmons & Simmons that set up they set up a service centre in Bristol. So you've seen all sorts of different arrangements emerge. What you've also seen is the growth of what's referred to as the alternative legal, the ALSPs, which are the alternative legal service providers. And what they'll do, some of them do some sort of what I call business services work, but many of them will also do some lower level, more routine legal work. So you could operate as a big law firm, but actually certain sorts of documents, you get the pre-work done by an offshore centre or by an ALSP, and then you do the layer on it. So you're definitely seeing these models alter. The alternative legal service provider market is reputed to be the fastest growing part of the legal market at the moment. So the figures you see, I think Thomson Reuters has had it between 25% and 33% compound growth. The last figures I saw, it was over a $10 billion market already that had grown up in no time at all. And some large firms are already creating their own captive ALSPs. So is it a way forward? Absolutely. I think what will be interesting will be standing back and seeing what things look like post-COVID. Because let's face facts, post-COVID, attitudes to buildings and expensive real estate will be different. Attitudes to talent anywhere will be different. So people, I think, will be much more attuned to getting a service coming to them and actually won't care whether people are sitting in a desk down the corridor.
Exactly. No, thanks for that, Derek. I mean, again, it's been fascinating, hearing your thoughts on these subjects. And I just want to say, thanks very much for your time. Again, it's been fascinating.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Cheers. All right, see you later. Bye.